Hi there everyone, Coach Alexa here. It is another windy day out there today. We're on, I don't know, maybe day 3 or 4 of an average of 20 mile an hour winds with gusting up to 45 mile an hour winds down in my neck of the woods in the southeast of the UK. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about wind and the impact it can have on our running. Now, many of us don't consider it to be as an annoyance as heavy rain, for example, or as dangerous as ice, but it still has a few impacts on the way that we run. There is a bit of a safety impact, so I wouldn't go running out in my local woodland here in high winds because of the danger of falling trees and branches, or past building sites, for example, where things are potentially a little bit more likely to be flying around in the wind. And it also has a little bit of an impact on how we run in general. So before I got to that, in fact, it has an impact as well on our temperature. So there's what's called wind chill. When the wind is higher, we tend to get colder more quickly. So it will make the same number of sort of Fahrenheit or degrees feel colder than it is when we've got that wind. So having a little either waterproof or a windproof jacket on can really help. I find also that wind kind of distorts our effort perception on a run, for example. So it's a bit more difficult to run at a nice consistent effort level, particularly when we've got gusty winds that are sometimes buffeting us, you know, headwind, tailwind coming from the side. It's a bit more difficult to kind of get into a nice consistent rhythm when we're being buffeted around a little bit by gusty wind. Even, you know, consistent headwinds, you'll probably know from experience, feel tougher to maintain a particular pace. Tailwinds never feel like they actually give the benefit that they should do they, somehow? And, you know, if you're running along a road that's got a hedge and then there's suddenly a gap in the hedge for a gate, and you'll notice that side wind again. So they kind of, you know, get us moving around a little bit more, and that consistent result or consistent pace that we get from a consistent effort on a quiet day on a flat route, we wouldn't necessarily get so much when it's windy. I think perhaps we also use the feeling of the air on our skin or in our hair when we're running outdoors as a bit of a feedback, piece of information, feedback as to how fast we're going, and obviously wind speeds will play around with that. So again, making it slightly more difficult to perhaps pace consistently on a windy day. And I don't know about you, but the final thing I find is it often sort of impacts how my breathing feels. So sometimes a strong wind, kind of tailwind, so blowing from behind me, almost feels like it's kind of drawing a little bit of the air out of my lungs. And when you've got a wind that's in your face or is kind of gusting past you, it kind of feels like it's forcing air into your lungs. It's a funny one, isn't it? It sort of changes the way we feel how we're breathing in some sort of sense. So all of these factors will generally mean that that relationship between effort level and pace, which might be linear on a lovely calm day on a flat route, is going to be a little bit more variable. So it's another argument for using effort perception or breathing rate or heart rate as your go-to training goal for the session, as opposed to minutes per mile or kilometres per mile, because there are going to be variables, and wind is one of them, that kind of break that one-to-one relationship between effort level and pace. Anyway, so a few thoughts, and let's hope that the windy and wet spring weather drops away at some point soon and we get into a little bit more of consistent, slightly sunnier but cool April is what I'm aiming for all the marathons coming up.